care reforms in Malaysia. For your information, the state government of Selangor has sponsored 3 series of healthcare debate with the MMA, with some of our activists, to discuss about what are the possible healthcare reforms that we suggest. I mean, I don't want to get too technical into this. Maybe later on we can get a chance to debate. I just touch on the police. I think Tengku can also bring up about the issues of judiciary. I think in order to stop abuses, whether it's in judiciary or the police, my approach is we have to be top down. Clean up the top, slowly it will trigger down. No point trying to cut off the lower rank constable and all these people. You'll never finish. You start with a good IGP and you start with a very clean core of the top elites and monitor them, make sure that their property are declared publicly every now and then. That's the way to start. I'm sure the Hong Kong experience, the Singapore experience is there. The formula is there. We just need the political will to implement it. Thank you.
Now on the police, let's be clear. Police corruption is not a Malaysian invention. The Metropolitan Police of London is not unknown for its corruption. In fact, a former commissioner, when he brought all the detectives together within Scotland Yard, he said to them, would any one of you care to put up your hand if you have not been involved in corruption? And there wasn't a single hand up. It's the same with the New York police. New York police has a very old history of corruption. Now, but that having said, does not mean that we should follow their example. You have very corrupt police forces in Australia. The New South Wales police force, the police force in Queensland, in Western Australia. What it has proved is that there is no police force in the world that can or has been known to have been able to police itself. And that is why when the Royal Commission was set up, we put together 125 recommendations, of which the most important was the setting up of an independent police complaints and misconduct commission. Now, I think Tian Chua brought up the question of getting the right people to be head of the police, etc. Do you know what happened? Because the Malaysian leaders compromised their own integrity, and many of them were corrupt, and the police knew they were corrupt. The Inspector General of Police was able to say to the Prime Minister, if you force this issue, every single policeman and woman would rebel. Now, can you imagine a police force rebelling against the government simply because they refuse to implement the most important of the many recommendations of the Royal Commission? Now, if we had done that, we would have been accused of treason. We've been hounded and sent to prison. But because the government itself had been compromised, they were not able to do anything about the police force, and therefore the police force acted with complete impunity. Now, if you don't need to fight corruption, it's not a simple matter of one size fitting all. Every problem has to be looked at very carefully. What we see today are merely symptoms. We're trying to treat symptoms instead of the causes of corruption. In Malaysia, and particularly in the police, the judiciary, and so on. So it is going to involve a lot of, quite apart from soul searching, it's going to be, you know, the whole country must be involved in this. You can't trust the police to police themselves. Now, who are going to trust? You can't trust the NACC, you know, to fight corruption, because they are not part of the solution, they are part of the problem. So as you can see, Malaysia is in dire straits. So don't think that, you know, we should just stay out of it and let them carry on. You can't allow that to happen. Now, very often we talk about what happened in Hong Kong. The police force in Hong Kong, those of you who are, you know, no longer wet behind the ears, will remember. It was the most corrupt police force you could ever imagine. Every street trader, every what you call, you know, fruit seller or hawker would tell you that they had to pay bribes merely to be allowed to sell some oranges. But what happened? The people of Hong Kong got so fed up with it, and this is why, this is a very important point. Don't live in just government. We have to be involved. Fighting corruption is everyone's battle. If you think that, you know, you should just stay back and let them do the fighting, you're wrong. In Hong Kong, all these people marched to Government House and told the governor, we are fed up. What's happened? I thought it's really happening in Malaysia where they switch off. But, you know, quite seriously. And the government had to take action. And they had to create the Independent Commission Against Corruption, which is now the model anti-corruption organization in the world. So what we're trying to say here is that, for heaven's sake, be committed to the fight against corruption, because corruption is what is causing the problems in our country. You will not realize it. You may think, you know, corruption has no victim. No, this is wrong. The poverty that you see around you, the discrimination you see around you, the policies which divide us, those are the results of corruption. Now, corruption does not mean money changing hands. That is bribery. We're talking about the larger picture. Corruption